on my own. I feel the rain crashing down all around this empty town. I'm searching for the lost and found, but you don't care, you're unaware. Keep moving like the scars aren't even there. It's in the air like a blazing flare. Just stare 'cause the flames won't burn us.
Hey guys, welcome back to another video, and today I'm doing What If Deku Was the Reincarnation of Iron Man, Part 1. We hit 300 subscribers today, boys. I couldn't have done it without all of you. We couldn't have hit this point. So make sure you guys like the video and subscribe, because once I hit 1,000 subscribers, I will do a pie in the face. That's right, a pie in the face. It's not going to be no little pie. It's going to be a decent-sized pie. That's going to cover my entire face. And once we hit 600 subscribers, I am going to do another challenge video for you guys. I'm not going to disclose the details for that, but those are two milestones you guys should be looking forward to. One is a challenge for you guys, and one is a pie in the face for me. So, I don't want to get hit in the face with a pie, but at the same time, I do want to hit 1,000 subscribers. So, make sure you guys subscribe. And while you're at it, United States of, smash the bell icon to be notified when I post a new video. Or when I post that pie in the face video. I mean, we're still a little ways to go, but if you guys subscribe, we'll be there pretty quick. So, yeah, let's go ahead and get into this. So, I'm going to say Inko was Iron Man and Pepper's daughter. Remember their daughter from Endgame? Scrap her. It's Inko now. Inko the Winko. She loves more than 3,000. She loves 10,000. No, she loves 1 billion. Yeah, that's a new thing. I love you 1 billion. Yeah. Scrap, I love you 3,000. I love you 1 billion. That must mean a lot more than some stupid 3,000. Inko does what that girl did, but 10 times as good. 10 times better. So, when Deku's born, he is born into a billionaire's home. Like, Inko kept all the technology her father had. But because, Iron Man didn't, his company wasn't made for weapons anymore, she turned it into a pharmaceutical company. So, they help everyone. They are the number one pharmaceutical company. Lost your lower half? They'll have it fixed. So, yeah. So, Deku is born, and, everyone is, super surprised because they thought it was going to be another girl. But Inko was hoping for a boy, and she got one. So, she was talking to her husband, and then her husband said, we're out of milk, so I'm gonna go get some milk. And Inko said excitingly, okay, we're gonna need it. And he said, yeah, we are. And he never came back. So Inko was severely depressed by this, but she had the money to allow them to survive for the rest of both of their lives. They had enough money. And they had plenty. They had enough money for Deku's children, and then Deku's children had money for their children. It kind of went on for a little bit. So, we're going to skip to when Deku was 4 years old. So, At 4 years old, Inko took him to the top tier doctor's quirk examination office. It costs thousands of dollars to get in. It's the top tier. It's the place that number one heroes, future pro heroes would go. Rich heroes, people who can no, I think which one's richer? I think the people who make the support items are richer than normal heroes. So I'm gonna say the people who make the support items go there. So Inko takes Deku in, and the doctor just kind of looks at both of them, and they're like, ma'am, this isn't a children's hospital. And then Inko puts her registration down because they give you tickets so you can get in. So she puts it down on the table, and and the doctor's like, oh, that's kind of surprising. We don't see many children walking in here. So come on. So they walk in the back, and he takes a look, and he sees that Deku doesn't have a quirk. Because they have top tier technology there, he's scanning, and then he sees that Deku does have a quirk. But this quirk is damaging Deku. So the doctor's immediately like, okay, never mind. Your son does have a quirk, but it's starting to really severely damage his body. And Inko's like, I have been noticing he's been getting a lot more sickly lately, but I didn't think it was this bad. Because she looks at the x-ray, and Deku's heart is kind of expanding in a bad way. And the entire area around it is kind of corrupted. It's what's it called? It's starting to rot a little bit. So the doctor's like, we don't do surgeries here, but I recommend you guys go to a hospital and get this checked out. And then Inko says, but this is a quirk-caused problem, so you guys should be able to handle it. And he's like, I'm sorry, ma'am, but we don't do surgeries here. And we haven't seen a problem like this for at least 30 years. And Inko slams her hand on the table, and she screams at the doctor to find a way to fix this. Deku's just excited he has a quirk. He's like, I have a quirk. I can't wait to become a hero. Because he doesn't know what they're talking about. He sees that his mom's angry at something, but he doesn't know what they're talking about. And then Inko screams at the doctor to fix it. And the doctor's like, I'm sorry, I can't do anything. Just go to a hospital. And then Inko slaps the doctor as hard as she can. And she's like, I paid thousands of dollars to get in here to find out that my son has a heart condition that could kill him. And it's caused by his own quirk. And you guys can't fix it? And they're like, ma'am, you just insulted me. Get out of here. We can't do anything to help your son. And she's like, I paid for this, and I don't want my son to die when he just learned he got a quirk. I don't want to have to go through that. And the doctor's like, I'm sorry, we've done everything we can. Ugh. And then Inko flips the table on the doctor, and the doctor starts screaming for help, and she's like, I'm going to buy this place and then fire you all. And then she runs out with Deku. The security's like, should I go get her? And the doctor's like, no, we're all gonna lose our jobs anyways. And then the next few weeks, Inko literally bought the doctor's office and fired everyone in the building. And then she sold the doctor's office to a different owner because the last guy would have just hired them back, so she sold it to a way different person. So, yeah. So this, all the way up until Deku was 7 years old, Inko has been searching for something to save Deku. While Deku, he doesn't know what's going on, but Deku finally learned how to use his quirk. And Deku's quirk is basically technology based. Deku can summon this weird electrical current thing that can talk, and Deku named it Jarvis. Jarvis can basically control all technologies. That lawnmower you see across your house, or that lawnmower you have in your garage, controllable. That water slide at the water park, controllable. Everything Jarvis touches is controllable. He can manipulate it basically into something that can move, talk, and fight for Deku. And Jarvis is basically Jarvis from Iron Man, except, he has way better abilities. He's able to, like I said, control everything. So that's why I'm giving him an OP quirk, because it's coming with a side effect. So, okay, maybe I'm gonna nerf it a little bit. Maybe he can't control water slides, but the lawnmower, I'm gonna say he can control, because that makes a lot more sense than a water slide. So, but he can hack into, the water that's being dispensed on the water slide. So, yeah. So Deku, learns how to control his quirk, and then he names it Jarvis. And Jarvis says, "Oh, that's a pretty name. I like the name Jarvis. Yeah, it's kind of catchy." And Deku's gets really excited, and he runs through the door to see Inko bursting in tears, she is non-stop crying and crying and crying. And Deku's "What's going on?" And then Inko immediately stops crying and wipes all of her tears away, and then puts all of the documents back in her folder, and she says, "Nothing. What are you doing in here?" And Deku says, "Look, this is my quirk. His name's Jarvis." And then Jarvis kind of just appears, and he's "Hello there. I am here to serve Deku, and if he says so, I will serve you as well." And Inko's just amazed by this. She asks, "What can Jarvis do?" And then the computer that was right in front of her manipulates and turns into a robot type thing. And then it bends over and does a bow by Inko. And then it transforms back into a computer. And then all of a sudden the lights just turn off. And then they turn back on. And then Inko's computer says, "Hello there. I am Jarvis." And then it returns back to its normal screen. And then Deku says, "That's what Jarvis can do." So he can manipulate, he can hack into things, he can manipulate things, and he can control things? Yeah, isn't that cool, Mom? And Inko's "Yes, it is, sweetie." So, now that he has unlocked Jarvis, he's grown 10 times smarter. So, now he's basically as smart as Iron Man was when, by the age 8, he is as smart as Iron Man was after he had the press conference declaring he wasn't making weapons anymore. Like, basically, after the press conference in Iron Man, the first Iron Man. He's as smart as him after the press conference. I know I said that a lot. So, by the time he's 8, he has already learned he got the condition from Jarvis. And he asks Jarvis about it, and Jarvis says, I'm afraid it's some kind of genetic defect with me, I guess you could say. Because your doctors call me, or things like me, that are spawned from the human body, a cork. And I guess you were unlucky enough to have a genetic defect with me, I guess you could say. So Deku starts researching this, and he stays up all night and all day. And when he goes to school, he is like constantly tired, and Bakugo bullies the crap out of Deku for it. And every day after class, like as soon as class ends and school's over, Deku would like shut down the entire power in the school system, and the teachers can't get it back online, just so Deku can leave without getting bullied by Bakugo. Like, it's that bad. So, one day he finally figured out what to do. So Deku made a robot that Jarvis can control to do surgery to create an opening to place in what he called an arc reactor, based off of his his grandpa's creation. So he puts it in and then looks at the x-ray, and the defect in his heart stopped expanding, and everything that was rotting was surgically removed, so it was now healing. So Deku talked to Jarvis about it, and Jarvis said, with how much power the arc reactor is able to create, you should be able to use it as a compulsor blast, or to create compulsor blasts like your grandpa was able to do. So Deku looks into this, and he builds himself a suit that is able to do this. So he's not able to necessarily fly like Iron Man, but instead wings will deploy, and then little thrusters on the wings will allow him to fly. And you may be asking, why didn't Deku just go and get a arc reactor from, like, Iron Man? Like, there must have been a arc reactor somewhere, or an Iron Man suit somewhere. I'm going to say, Inko, like, after she was old enough and Pepper died, she buried all of the arc reactors and all of the Iron Man suits. She just kind of buried them in remembrance of her father. So, yeah. No, every day, every anniversary of Iron Man's death, she would bury one of his suits with an arc reactor. Yeah, that seems a little bit better. Alright, let me get a drink real quick. Ugh, man. When you're doing what ifs, just getting a drink of water and just kind of looking at the sunset right next to your pool just kind of feels nice. You know? Alright, back to the story. So, that's why Deku can't just go get an arc reactor. He had to make his own. So, Deku, after he has made the suit to his own design, because he designed it like his original hero suit in My Hero Academia. He designed it kind of after that, but with an arc reactor in the middle, and it's able to spread out wings, and then he has lasers like on his knuckles, and then the compulsor blasts, like the mega compulsor blast out of his chest, and then the two mini ones on his hands. So those, like, that's kind of everything different. And then you can see like the details, like the other details that are different. So yeah. So Deku walks into Inko's room and he said, "I fixed the problem. You don't have to keep searching for a way to stop it. I already fixed it." And Inko's like, "What are you talking about?" And then Deku showed a x-ray of everything healing back up. And then Inko points at the arc reactor and she says, "How did you get that?" And Deku says, "I made it myself." And Inko, she walks over and then she just hugs Deku and she starts crying and she's like, "I'm so sorry." "It seems like you really are the reincarnation of your grandpa, aren't you? You're just as smart as him." "No, you're smarter than him. He figured all this out when he was like at the age of 30. And you're 8 years old and you've already made an arc reactor. You really are a prodigy." So now we're going to skip to the end of middle school. So I'm going to say Deku always keeps a mini suit. So like he'll be able to, he doesn't necessarily have the nanotech, but he's able to, like, if he taps on his arc reactor, it'll it'll deploy a suit around him. It's not nanotech, but it's as deployable as nanotech, I guess you could say. But it takes a little bit longer. So yeah. So the teacher says, "Alright, it's time to think about your future. What are you guys going to do when you guys grow up?" And then he throws the papers in the air and he's like, "Who cares? I know you all want to be heroes." And everyone starts using their quirks. And Deku's just kind of looking around and he's like... And then Jarvis pops up and he's like, "Do you want me to stop them?" And then Deku's like, "No, they'll get on trouble on their own terms." And then Jarvis laughs and he's like, "Alright, sir." And then Bakugo's "Don't put me in a class with any of these B-listers. I'm the only one worth getting into UA. All of you should just go work at some kind of Walmart, because none of you are worth being heroes." And then Deku kind of gets offended by this. Like, he's like, "Bakugo, what makes you so much better than any of us? What, you have a good quirk, so what? It's not the quirk that makes the hero. It's the personality. And your personality makes you look a lot like a villain." And Bakugo's like, "What did you just say to me, you nerd? I don't think you should be around here much longer. Because you're never going to make it as a hero if you're such a quirkless nerd." Like, Bakugo got offended when Deku called him a villain. And then Bakugo gets up and he walks towards Deku, and then Deku's like, "I wouldn't try anything if I were you." And then Bakugo's like, "And what do you do? What will you do? You're quirkless. You can't do nothing." And then Bakugo goes in for a punch, and then Jarvis pops out and then blocks the punch. And then Bakugo's like, "What?" And then Jarvis like, "I'm afraid you just attempted to attack my master. And by the looks of it, that wouldn't look so good if the police were to watch you doing that, because that would be attempted assault. And if you did hit him, and I didn't get involved, that would be assault. So, how about we go ahead and make amends to this on our own terms?" And then the projector that they had in the classroom just turned into like a little like robot and jumped at Bakugo and grappled onto Bakugo's face and then started like punching him. And Bakugo's like, what the heck? What is this gremlin doing on my face? Get it off me! Get it off me! And he's like running around the class, and then he accidentally crashes into the window and he falls out. And then he's like, ah! No! I have too good of a cork to die! And then all of a sudden, he's like kind of floating in the air. The water fountain Jarvis hacked into so it would blast water up at Bakugo to prevent him from falling. And he's like, what happened? And then he forgot the projector was still on him. And then the projector crawled onto a certain spot on his body and just started kicking it. And Bakugo was like, oh, that hurts! Oh, get it off me! And then he punches it. And Bakugo's like, oh, it's so painful! Get it off me! Get it off me! And Bakugo starts crying because it keeps... Okay, I'll just say it. It keeps on punching him in the nuts because Jarvis wants to teach him a lesson. And he's going to make it a lesson that Bakugo will never forget. So it just keeps on punching Bakugo in the nuts. Like punch and punch. Like literally, Bakugo's nuts are this robot's punching bag. And he's just punching it. And then Bakugo lays off the biggest explosion he can. But because the robot was on his crotch, it kind of hit the robot and his crotch. So, Jarvis, as soon as he destroyed the robot and hit himself in the nuts with his own explosion, he let go of the water fountain and Bakugo fell down. And Bakugo is just kind of sitting there. Like, you know how anime, when, like, say someone got hit in the nuts, they'll turn them black and white? Yeah, that's kind of what Bakugo looks like. He's just kind of lying on the ground. And, like, I know you guys, you guys watching this felt, what I just described. Like, getting punched in the balls constantly, getting kicked in the balls constantly, and then getting exploded in the balls. You can imagine that would be pretty painful. So, he's just kind of lying there. And one of the teachers decided to call 911, or call an ambulance. And once an ambulance got there, and once Bakugo got to the doctor's office, or the hospital, they said that he had done so much damage to his nuts. One of his nuts is literally fractured. Like, permanently. So, there goes one nut. So, back to the story. So, Deku's walking home. Like, he's just chuckling. Like, he keeps on chuckling from how funny that was. Because he had never seen Bakugo cry before. And I mean cry. So, he just keeps... And then he just kind of... Like, once he decided to go down the shortcut, and he just kind of stops in front of the sewage pipes, and he bursts out in laughter. The sludge villain hears this, and he pops out. I'm going to say Jarvis has, like, a motion detection system that goes on for maybe 10 feet. So he immediately knew that the sludge villain was coming. So he took over Deku's body and jumped out of the way. So the sludge villain pops through the pipes and slams into a wall. So imagine you just stuck some... gum onto a wall. That's kind of what the sludge villain looks like. So the sludge villain looks around and he's like, wait, how did you know I was coming? And then Jarvis pops out and he's like, oh, because I took over his body and moved him. I knew you were coming. And then Deku touches his arc reactor and a suit pops on. And then Deku gets into a defensive stance. And he's like, are you going to attempt to hurt me? Should I incapacitate you? And the sludge villain's like, ha ha ha, you incapacitate me? That is a joke. Ha ha ha, how funny, kid. And then he launches at Deku, Deku then deploys his wings, and I'm going to call his Mega Burst with his wings Recipro Burst. Kind of like Ida's name, but now it's Deku's. So Deku spins around and launches into the air. And once he's in the air, he deploys like 10 concussion missiles and hits each and every one, collide into the sludge villain. And the sludge villain's like so dizzy from this. And he's like, whoa, what happened? And then Deku lands on the ground. And then he starts blasting the sludge villain. One blast at a time. Like his hand blasts, like his little hand, what are they called again? Like his little lasers on his hands, what are they called? I forgot. He just keeps on shooting them at the sludge villain. And then Deku decides to charge up his super weapon. He knows it will take up a lot of his arc reactor's energy, but right now it's kind of a life or death situation. So he starts charging it up, and then the sludge villain's like, what are you doing? Do you think some little battery's going... And then, boom! Like, literally, a giant hole is in the sludge villain, has just, like, a giant piece, like a humongous gap, like a humongous piece of the sludge villain has just been turned to vapor. And then Deku falls to one knee because of how much power he used up. He's like, oh man. The sludge villain no longer has a mouth. It took out his mouth. You could say it took out his neck, his shoulders, and a little bit of his stomach. That's basically how much it took off of the sludge villain. So the sludge villain's like, what kind of power is this? He's thinking that is in his mind because he lost his mouth. And he's just kind of surprised. And then he's like, I gotta finish this. So he kind of starts sludging over to Deku. And that's what I'm going to call it when the sludge villain moves. And then All Might arrives. And he's like, I am here. And Deku's like, really? All Might's here? And he tries to move up, but the suit is like a little bit too heavy for him. And then All Might's like, are you a fellow hero? And then Deku's entire armor just kind of shuts down. And he can't talk. Like, he can talk, but it's like kind of muffled. So All Might's like, what did you say? Well, this is the villain I've been searching for, so I'm gonna go and take him away. Why is there a giant hole in him? Where's his mouth? That's confusing. Did you do this? Yes? I can't hear you. Can you take that helmet off? Oh well. Detroit Smash! And then the rest of the sludge villains just turned into goop. So All Might puts it in a jar, and he's like, well, thank you for doing most of the work for me, I guess. So yeah, I'm gonna be on my way. And then Deku, with like the little bit of strength he has, pulls out a notebook. And All Might's like, wait, do you want me to sign that? Yes? And then Jarvis pops out, and he's like, I am so sorry, but my master would like to ask you, can you sign my notebook? Or wants to say, can you sign my notebook? But, his system shut. He lost power in his suit, so he can't lift it up and take it off. So, do you think you can sign this? And All Might's like, yeah, sure. And he grabs the notebook and signs it. And he's like, alright, I have to get out of here. Take this villain to prison. And then Jarvis says, Master Deku has said, do you think I can become a hero without a... Whoa, hold on. That would be a weird thing to say through Jarvis, because Jarvis is a cork. So imagine Deku just says, like, through Jarvis, do you think I can still be a hero without a cork? Like, Jarvis would be offended because he's a quirk. And he's literally Deku's quirk. So imagine saying, can I be a hero without a quirk when you do have a quirk and that quirk is sentient? Imagine saying that. Okay, so I'm gonna say he doesn't say that. So, yeah. I'm just gonna say All Might's science notebook, nothing else. So, All Might launches away, and Deku's just kind of fanboying in there. He wished he could have talked to All Might, but he knows, oh well, he needs to upgrade his arc reactor so he can use at least 2 of his super weapon attacks. That's what I'm going to call it when he uses his chest convulsor blast. It's convulsor blast. Isn't that what it's called? Convulsor blast? Convulsor blast? I know you guys who know what it's called are getting so triggered right now. So yeah. That's where I'm going to end this episode off here. It's a good 35-minute video. I hope you guys did enjoy this. If you did, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe so we can hit 600 soon, because I really want to hit 600, and I know you guys want to see another challenge come out for you guys. So yeah, remember, once we get to 1,000, a big pie will be launched into my face. So yeah, and that's where I'm gonna leave it off here. So goodbye, guys, or peace out.